Our next speaker has many titles. He's an entrepreneur, investor, and the founder of Braintree. His name is Bryan Johnson, and we're delighted to be joined by him today. Bryan, thank you for joining us.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Bryan, I'm going to open with a deceptively simple, if perhaps slightly rude question. How old are you?
My left ear is 64. My heart is 37. My diaphragm is 18. And my cardiovascular capacity is in the 1.5 percentile. I'm a few hundred different ages.
You spend $2 million a year on medical procedures and analysis. You take more than 100 pills a day, and you follow a grueling diet and exercise regimen in the name of de-aging. Why?
It's a thought experiment I did after selling Braintree Venmo. If you read history, you realize throughout time that anyone who lived at any previous time point was basically living in the past. To break myself out of the same problem, I did a thought experiment, and I said, imagine I'm in the 25th century and I'm listening to a conversation among people who are observing what we did in the early 21st century that made existence possible in this galaxy. What did we do in the 21st century? What did we figure out? And I spent 10 years working on that problem and thinking about it, and I arrived at a pretty simple solution: don't die. It's just in 2 words that basically, after a few billion years of evolution on this planet, we're baby steps away from superintelligence. And once you have the power of the gods within reach, the only foe you have is death. And so the entire to-do list for the humanity is don't die, don't kill each other, don't destroy the planet, and prepare for an extraordinary future.
Is that the goal of Blueprint? Is it ultimately to not die?
Death as an assumption. Death is a known. And I'm suggesting that death may not be inevitable, as it always has been. And if you fully internalize that, it changes every single thing about our existence. And this is what I'm saying before, is if you go back to the 16th century or 15th or 17th century, the future had arrived then. It was very hard to see. And so what I'm suggesting right now is, in this moment, this is potentially the future. And if you're an entrepreneur, you're working hard on your objectives, that's amazing. Also, don't die. So that's what I've tried to do with my protocol. Is I have spent millions of dollars, and the majority of the money has gone to my team of 30 professionals doing extensive research on everything that's ever been published on health span and lifespan. Less so on the therapies I do myself, but it's basically been trying to figure out what is the very best protocol we could develop with today's evidence.
Bryan, you made headlines this year for some of the more extreme therapies that you've tried, such as infusing a liter of your 17-year-old son's blood plasma. What is the most extreme thing that you've done so far? And how far are you willing to go in your pursuit of longevity?
Yeah, so with the plasma infusions, I did 6 1-liter infusions over 6 months, 1 from my son, and then the other 5 were from a 20-year-old donor that was following a Blueprint diet. I saw no effect from the plasma infusions. However, I gave 1 liter of plasma to my father, and he donated 1 liter himself, just taking 1 out. His speed of aging slowed by 13%. So a huge difference. For my father, 70 years old, and for his speed of aging to have that dramatic of a drop was just gigantic from just 1 plasma infusion. So it basically says this plasma, the evidence was interesting and we wanted to experiment with it. It didn't work on me because I'm already pretty optimized, so it didn't stack. But for someone like my father, it made a dramatic change. And so I thought it was really interesting that we really put it to the test. We shared all the data publicly. And this is one of the more extreme things people, have done. It's been very quiet and hush-hush. I made the whole thing public. But really, there's nothing on my list that would not be done.
You are the extreme example of how, saying goodbye to goblin mode. What advice would you have for the entrepreneurs in the room for how they can take care of themselves?
Yeah, first, it's important to realize when you're sleep deprived and you have a bad diet, you're half dead. Just make sure you're taking care of yourself and do a few basics. Get your sleep every single night. Never compromise. Treat it as your most important meeting for the entire day. Optimize your sleep. It's the single biggest yield of anything you do. And then 2 is fire your worst version. So identify the thing that you do that makes your life miserable. Face it down, and change it. Choose to treat yourself in the best possible way and get the mental clarity so you can think straight.
Thank you so much, Bryan. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.